Okay, we live? I think we're live. Awesome. Cool. Yes, we're good. Let me set the event to live, as is tradition. There we go. Very cool. Get a couple things set up here. I just remembered I changed some stuff on the stream. Make sure that looks okay. That's better. Okay. That's not better. That's better. Okay. Still not where we want to be. Think that's where we want to be. No, no, still not where we want to be. All right, let's take a look. Make sure that looks okay. It does. Watch list. Good. Cool. There we go. Ah, there we go. And then bring up the tracker. Think. Is that what I want? I think that's what I want. Right there. Whoa, we're zoomed in. Okay. Sorry. Always takes me a few minutes to get set up here after not having streamed for a week. It's one of those things where like if you do it every day, you're you're Gucci, as the kids say, and I haven't been. So here we are. Hey, what's going on? Got our first joiner. Is it Avilio? That's a amazing sounding name, by the way. Welcome, welcome. Awesome. All right, I did not update everything today. I'm just realizing, but that's okay. We're just gonna roll with it. Hopefully, hopefully you guys give me a little bit of a break on having everything perfectly set up. It's been a busy week, okay? Especially in the Discord, just getting things set up. Hey, Turtle, good to see you. We got the what do we call the early fam here? Everybody showing up on time. Look at that. We still got a minute before we got to start, actually. So I'm going to keep buying more time and sipping my drink. You know, there's a phrase that people use for two beer. I'm not going to say the other word because I might get TOS'd on YouTube. But I thought about high noon. I'm a two high noon buffoon. That's pretty good. It's terrible, I know, but as long as I laugh, I don't really care. Hey, Pinga. Oh, nice. Hey, somebody told me what your name means, which is hilarious, by the way. I think I've translated it correctly. Uh, is it Spanish or is it Portuguese? Or maybe it's both, right? Because they have a lot of similarities. I'm not sure. I'm not judging. I'm just curious. It's Cuban slang. Okay. Yeah, that's cool. I don't know how close Cuban is to like other Hispanic languages, but that's awesome. Funny story. I was in the Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers. I'm not sure I should share that, but that's a true story. Pure Spanish. Okay, cool. And yeah, I joined because my Hispanic friends who are all engineers are like, "Hey, man, you should join." I'm like, "Dude, I'm not Hispanic. What are you talking about?" And they're like, "No, it's fine. Don't worry. You're with us. Nobody will question anything," which was like generally true at my college. But when we went to these Eastern Technical Career Conferences and National Technical Career Conferences where you're talking to recruiters and stuff, there's like a thousand Hispanic people, me, a white guy, Irish, right, descent, very clearly. and ended up working out perfectly fine. Everybody was cool. Met some really nice Hispanic ladies, which was also pretty cool. And generally had a good time in college, but there was definitely some awkward moments there, especially when like literally everyone is speaking Spanish, and I'm just like, I don't know what's going on. I'll have another Corona. And also, everybody wanted to teach me salsa and bachata and not really merengue. I don't know if that's not popular anymore these days or not. So I learned. I can't like always got to dance with all these Hispanic chicks. It was awesome. I was I. We are off topic already. We haven't even started. I'm sorry. Hey, Flox, good to see you. Sorry that you've got to listen to the. Hey, Flox. Okay, for you, real quick, before I get into what we have here. My kids were talking about Labubus, or what is it, Labubu? I'm not sure how you say it. And I'm like, I know what that is. I actually know what you're talking about. And they're like, really? And I'm like, yeah, there's a lady, a Discord Theta daddy that has one on their purse. And they're like, okay, can we have some? I'm like, no, I heard they're expensive. So now they're annoyed at me because they said we can't have little boo boos in the house. If a Spanish chick wants to dance, make sure. Oh, dude, no, this is long before I met my wife. Full disclosure, this was pre-wifed era. If she gets mad about that, like, I don't know what to tell you. I don't have a time machine, and I certainly was having a good time. I'm not sure I want a time machine. You'll send me some. What are you, a Labubu dealer? What's going on, Mister Rose? I know who you are. That's hilarious. All right. Okay. It's past 8 o'clock. I'm already off on tangents. I'm sure there'll be more. I just got done watching an episode of Ted Lasso, so I'm like extra emotional. If you ever watched, I'm only on the second season. And like, I love the show, but I hate the show because like, I always feel like I'm going to cry at the end of it. Even when they're funny episodes, I'm like, stop making me feel like I got to cry. I don't want to talk about this anymore. Uh, So, yeah, we're going into this slightly more emotional than normal. It gets worse, man. That's what I've heard, and I gotta say, like the first season seemed like it was perfect. And I'm not sure I even needed a second season. And already I've told my wife, I'm like, Squid Games is out, right? You want to watch Squid Games? She's like, no, we got to finish Ted Lasso. I'm like, I think there's 10 seasons. I don't know. It's a lot. And I hear they're just like kind of downhill from the first one. And the first one was really good. Can we just leave a good taste in our mouth today? And I was like, nope, nope, we're gonna not end on something tasty. Well, that's again going in the wrong direction. All right, cool. About let's talk about the week in review. What a week, man! I don't even want to talk about parts of it, and then I do want to talk about parts of it. We'll just have to see where things go here. It's interesting though. My I just oh, this is disgusting. So funny story. Um, the Reddit go. Oh, what is this? I don't want time. I don't care about timelines. Uh, my UNH position was my largest position. Apparently, no longer. I didn't really want to start so hot like this, but I just noticed this is usually sorted because of the way that I have it set up in the table behind this, and it's no longer the biggest position, not even close for that matter. Partially because of, oh, I don't know, a 30% drop in it, and also because Reddit is up like 30% in the last few days. So we're switching places, which is fine. I honestly, I'd rather Reddit is the biggest position. I just didn't really want it to happen quite like this, and here we are. Also, I think the cash percentage is off. I think it's actually more like I didn't update all this in time. Again, I was watching Ted Lasso. I didn't have time. This is wrong. It's not far off though, believe it or not, because despite UNH and everything dropping, Reddit made such a difference today that this is way closer than you would guess, or that I would have guessed, and that's fine. So yeah, I guess one thing that is worth mentioning is we're kind of back to normal in terms of premiums earned this week. This month already is starting off hot. This kind of cheating a little bit where July looks worse than it really ought to look because almost all of this happened in July with the exception of the expiration date of Theta, which is whatever. Who cares, right? So we've got some stuff here lined up for August. And already we had a great week of 16.9, which percent wise was almost, we'll call it rounds to 1.5%. And honestly, I think this is actually more like 115 or 1140000, something like that. So yeah, he rounds even closer. I messed up my formula, so we're not going to keep that permanent. I'll fix that later. And I only have one CSP live right now, which would be ONS. So hey, Mike M, newly subscribed, welcome. How do we get the complete Theta Daddies recap? I'm not sure what you mean. I'm going to post one probably tomorrow, like an AI post of a recap. So if that's what you mean, if you mean trackers and stuff, yeah, Dirt Turtle DT's got you covered over there. Can probably help you out with the tracker stuff. So, um, oh yeah. DT, can somebody help Mr. Mike, Mr. MM there with it? What's going on, Showcase? Good to see you. Welcome back to the chat. You missed, okay, you already missed story time. We talked about my time in the Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers. It was good. We may have gotten a little non-PC. We talked about dancing with Latinas. I'm sorry you missed it. Maybe we'll get back to that later. I also coined the term. I'm not a two-beer word I can't use on YouTube. It is the two high noon buffoon. So we are, yeah, where everything is on pace for a great night here. All right, I think that does cover it for the dashboard, though. There's not a whole lot. I did get a little bit closer back to where I want to be, which is generally, actually, I should change the goal to be here because this was the goal, but then like I got better at this, I guess, or luckier, or a combination of the two, and we were living in this land here. Now, realistically, this is kind of the goal. Although, the more I look at this, the more I'm like, this is not really that far fetched to be at the last line. We just have to start playing things a little bit more, maybe aggressively. So I don't know. I don't know if I want to force that or not. But this is where I really expect to be long term. So that is about a 1.5 to 2% return range is what we're shooting for there, and we're not far off. We had a good week this week. We recovered from the puke debacle of 2025. Last week was kind of like a recovery week for all of us, I think, and we're back in business. So let's get into the trades. Let's see what we got for what was happening this week, and we'll laugh, we'll cry, and we'll work through our trauma together. All right, so starting things off, as always, it seems, standard GME buy and sell and buy, where we had a $1 not monthly contract. It was in the monthly expiration of 8/15, but it wasn't actually a month out. It was like, I don't know, 15 to 20 days at this point, something like that, right? Because 8/15 is the monthly. Yeah, so it was like in the 20-day range. And as usual, GME went up for no good reason to like 24. I was able to sell this for $1, and then it dropped to like 22, and I was able to buy it back for 50% profit. So that was pretty sweet. We've done that exact trade every week for the last 4 in a row now, I think. So like GME just keeps paying me $500 a week, which I'm totally cool with. Or maybe more appropriately, 50 cents a share is essentially what I'm getting out of it. And one thing, I think I'm going to change this formula, and I'll do this in version 2.2 or something, whatever we're going to call it. I'm going to change this to be specific to Fidelity, or maybe I'll make it where you can choose what you've got, and stop being unnecessarily conservative, because this actually lowers ever so slightly what the profit was. These trades are made free of charge on Fidelity because it's under 65 cents. So I might put that threshold in for any of you who care, who are using this tracker. That might be of interest to you. It's a very small tweak. It probably comes out to like 0.01% difference, but worth thinking about anyway. Then we got the deck, which is maybe the first of my sad stories. It's not really that sad in that what I did here. What was sad was we were at like 120, and now for some reason we're down to 103. And this is going to be the first chart. That chart. This chart is pretty. I forgot I had it up. Let's just observe and enjoy for a moment. The double god arrow worked. The cup and handle worked perfectly. And even the prior range worked for a bit, and actually where we finished, by the way. So, ooh, beautiful. Okay. What did I say we were going to talk about? Deck? Yeah, let's look at deck. So this was the deck situation where we had the major drop. Everyone cried. I cried. We cried together. Things were sad. Selling CCs. I kept rolling out. Rolled out to 115. Got locked in at 115. In hindsight, maybe I should have left him uncovered. I wasn't really sure that we would have popped here, but the thought was, had we popped here, we would have stayed in this range because it was kind of like a prior range, which is why these lines existed. All these two blue lines were what I was thinking would be the range that we might find ourselves in. And then, like, the next day, we immediately fell out. So the next day, being whatever that was, maybe it was Tuesday when everything was super red, I bought the contracts back. And I'm like, oh, cool. We get net profit. That's great. And, hopefully we'll get this little bounce and I can sell at like 115. Well, guess what never happened? Because actually, I think I sold. Where did I sell? Yeah, it was somewhere down here on the red. It wasn't. It wasn't in this beautiful spot. It was the day after, and then from there, I was like, okay, we'll probably get some recovery here. But as you can see, we just dropped back down to the old channel, which is incredible. Doesn't really make any sense. There is no news that gives any indication of like this is where we should be. Although now I'm seeing this 10Q report. I don't know what that is. Maybe I need to read through that. But that was very disappointing. And now I'm once again kind of bag holding deck. Although I continue to lower the cost basis, it's like at 110 now for me. So yeah, still bag holding. But this is disappointing. I don't have any good reasoning for what happened here. They had a good set of earnings. They had good results, and I believe they had pretty good guidance. I saw that a lot of their results or earnings was driven off like UGG, and maybe people are like me and generally hate the concept that is UGG boots, and they're like, nah, screw this stock. We're shorting it again. Come on, boys, let's jump in on this thing. And now we're screwed again. But I'm going to have some patience here. I was thinking like, yeah, you could easily start doing what I was doing before, which is go out to like the next earning cycles, do it all over again, get stuck all over again. I don't really want to do that. I think a lot of this is also related to all of the tariff stuff that was coming out, but it just wasn't, there was no like real clear catalyst. There was only uncertainty. And maybe that in itself was a good indication of it was a good time to buy VIX or VXX as an example, where we were sitting at these 1 year lows, right? Where we just spiked up here and some people made some good money. I was looking at it at 140X or 41X, I should say, sorry. And should have bought some of those. I did buy some, sold it here, and then I didn't buy back in. Wish I did. That would have hedged quite a bit on all the tariff stuff. But what are you going to do? You can't really know that in hindsight necessarily. But overall, I was a little saddened by Deck. It was kind of a tough story, a tough sell for how we just fell after earnings like that, after good earnings. So we're in it again, and I'm not. And having gone through the last earnings cycle that we did at this level, I'm not particularly worried. I'm annoyed that I still own Deck. And the question is, do I just cut the loss there and move on with my life? I don't know. I'm not sure. I want to think about this a little bit. We'll see. We've got a lot of news coming out over the weekend, I think, and into today for that matter, on tariffs and things like that. If you're following like Walter Bloomberg, right? He's just tweet after tweet. He's like 1,000 tweets a day of tariff news, among other things. So we're just going to watch out, or I'm going to watch out for that anyway, and we'll see where we end up on there. I don't think a lot of you are in Deck anymore at this point, so maybe it's not that interesting to hear about. But that is the story and how I've kind of thought about it as we get through the week. And it does close out all these positions at once because this is how I handle rolling. I close the roll on the day that it all rolls together, where the roll is officially over, basically. And it did net like, I don't know, $1,000. Yeah, 890. So it was fine. It was kind of not the greatest return APR because it was basically 1% over 2 weeks, maybe. So, 50% or APR, which is, no, 26% APR. So like not great. But again, the intention was I was going to sell at break even the next day, which again, not what ultimately happened. And then we get to ASTS, which ASTS was an interesting one. Let's do this chart too. I don't have that. I don't have that one saved. We'll have to bring that up. And let's see what we got. All right. I didn't do a cup here. I feel like I could have done a cup, but I did a bull flag, which I suppose now looks more like something like this, right? Where we can potentially expect a nice spike. I'm not sure we're going to with the market generally turning, and we are getting into earnings. So this was a thing for a little bit. Maybe it was a shorter bull flag. Average advisor probably knows best on that one. Um, and we started the fall. So what I did here was I actually sold these. I think sold these last week on Friday. These were $53 CSPs, and this was a crazy week. So let's look at it here. And when we look at Space Mobile on the weekly, we were all over the place. And for a CSP, obviously, if it was at 53, the way that this works to buy to close for anyone who might be new is you do this, you want to buy it back at the top at these peaks, or anytime it goes up and all of a sudden you can get better than 50% profit or whatever, right? So I found myself in this position looking at it when we were at like 50-ish, and I was like, oh, that kind of sucks. Unexpected Tuesday drop that everything got hit by. And then ASTS spiked up on Wednesday, and I'm like, okay, this looks good. I can get 50%. I'm out. I'm not sure if I got a little bit better than 50%. Yeah, it was. Let's break out the calculator for the first time today. I'll put it over my head, and we had what was it? 660 divided by that 1490. Yeah, so we had 55%. Okay, good enough. So we did a little bit better than our 50% guideline, and I felt shaky here and really just wanted to get back into cash. As much as possible, I thought, okay, we just saw ASTS drop, Bull started dropping, Archer was dropping, all things that I had CSPs in, which you'll see as we get down into it. And I was like, you know what? I don't want everything that's dropping to be something I get stuck with potentially. So let's get out of ASTS. Let's take the 50%, which is the rule anyway. And at the end of the day, I'm pretty happy with that decision. Now, I didn't sell it again. However, we could have on this drop here sold like some 50 ATM at the money type CSPs. I don't think that would have been a good play on 1 DTE or 0 DTE, but it was an option, as they all are. And instead, I just let it ride, and I was like, okay, I'm out. And we would have been assigned. It would have been above cost basis. It would have been fine in terms of how we made out at the end of the day here. But this is the problem. Like there's so much softness in the market across the board right now, as we've seen this week in many sectors, even things like SPY, right? SPY has had some softness for the week where, I should say it was generally flat, slightly down. And then today we dropped, obviously. So 2.5% in a week for SPY is kind of a lot. Generally day to day, week to week is flat, slightly up on average, obviously, but this is a big drop. So with all the uncertainty here, my goal was to, where possible, get to a cash position in a profitable manner, meaning I wasn't going to buy back or buy to close that option for a net debit. And I really didn't want to roll it out either, because I don't know what the next few weeks are going to bring. And we got to go back to ASTS here for a second. Remember, ASTS chart is like, well, if this drops, it can drop hard. And I don't think it'll drop back down to this $27 range with all the contracts and stuff that they've got lined up and good press and all that. But we could find ourselves back in the 45 range, honestly. To be honest, I think it's actually likely that we end up back here, just based on how the stock's been moving over the last few months. Soft hands? No, yeah, definitely paper handed it all the way. Man, are you guys drinking too today? I can't even read some of these comments on stream. I'll get in trouble. You're going to report me if I read chat out loud. So overall, ASTS, good trade. My wife is apparently in here, so All right, we're gonna get off of that real quick, and I'm gonna like, hey, get out of the spreadsheet. Please leave my spreadsheet. Oh, I wrote dishwasher. That is not good. She's not going to be happy. Spreadsheet. You're on camera. Thanks. Okay, that was awkward. Now let's. I don't even want to go back to my trade tracker. Now we have to go look at like other stocks and stuff. What we can do though is we can look at ASTS and see where is the cup, and likely we're making a cup right now. Here's my real argument. We are going to draw a couple of cups today, but what does an early cup look like? And maybe the early cup is going to look like, I don't know, something like this. I don't know what you guys think, but no, probably not. Probably not. Probably not going to happen. I do need to get rid of this. I don't think this God arrow is happening, by the way. So we're going to take that out for now. But overall, like generally, the stock is bullish. But with everything going on right now, I am a little nervous about it. I don't think this is where I want to play until we get either some more stability in ASTS. Maybe I'll probably, you know what? Now that I'm thinking about it, we got earnings coming up in August. It's potential. There's potential that I'll just wait. I'll just wait and see what that has coming up. This is not. This is not the current one. Okay, we're gonna go. Let me go find the current one on the side over here, so I'm not distracting everybody. You're not seeing my followed subreddits that I don't want you to see. Oh, she left. Perfect. I can show that too. Okay, so last earnings whisper is, or next week's earning whisper is. I don't think this includes ASTS, but I thought I'd bring it up anyway because I think it said on the 11th, right? Yeah, and this only goes till the, what is it, the 8th? So we'll get to this in a bit. Oh, Oscar. Yeet. Well, we'll talk about that one later too. So up to you on what you want to do for ASTS. I don't think it's a bad company. You know, just like Rocket Lab, I think these are companies that have a lot of opportunity ahead of them. They're definitely trading off things that are not necessarily purely revenue based right now, as they're very developmental in nature. I just right now, in the case of softening market, I worry about. Now, I don't want to call these meme stocks. They're not meme stocks, but like non-revenue stocks, they tend to just react a lot more. And I think that's what we're actually seeing with Archer as well. And we'll get to that. Well, maybe we should just talk Archer now since it's kind of in the same thing here. So I'll jump down to Archer. Archer, I had $11 puts. You can see now we're way out of the money there, or in the money. Sold these on like also Friday. And I was pretty happy with those at 40 cents. In fact, that was a limit sell. This was like, at the time, it was like 30 cents a contract when I put the limit buy or limit sell in. So when it hit, I was like, oh, that's cool. That's surprising. I didn't think that was going to hit at all. And then, we look at Archer and here we are. It's 5 days later and it's just been this burn from 11. This is where I was selling stuff all the way down to 965. Now, I think we talked about this Muffin Man, right, on your call of, I'll talk about a cup in a second. So when we were talking about a little bit on Sunday, which I guess will be in a couple of days, we'll talk about similar things again, the bakery preview, weekend preview, we were talking about maybe we should wait till Tuesday on selling options. And here I go. I'm like, oh, look, this is a great opportunity. And the reason I thought that was when we talked about Archer last week, we had actually drawn this. This is my prior channel that I was sharing. And then I said, oh, but maybe we're in this new channel. I think Muffin, you were thinking we were in this new 11 to 12 channel as well, which we very well could have been until everything started to fall apart across the market. I don't think it's a poor decision or a poor call out in where we thought we were. We had established quite a few days here, so it seemed likely. And now we've actually dropped even below the former channel. Now we have, if I fix this a little bit to like, this is probably more accurate here. We're still in it, right? I think we're still in that overall channel, something like that. So we'll have to see. Do we stay there? I don't know. We could fall through that as well. Prior to that, we were in like this 7 or 8 to 9 range for a while. I'd be really surprised if we dropped all the way down to here. But yeah. Okay, so you asked what a cup and handle was. I think, yeah, well, that was smart not making a play. I was less smart making the play, by the way. Let's look at what a cup and handle might look like. And basically, all it is a pattern where you have a dip, right? Like this. There's your cup. You can get that shape, I'm sure, pretty easily. And then you have this like slowly degrading handle that's attached to it. And maybe the cup is maybe I'm drawing it slightly incorrectly here, where it's supposed to be something like this. And then basically you have this effect where there's like a consolidation that happens here as the range tightens, and we trade either sideways to slightly down. It's very common where it's actually, it can even look like, I don't know, something like that, right? But in this case, this would be, I think, a typical cup and handle. And then what you are genuinely expecting, I'm not doing this to be too memey here, but then from there it is typically, a breakout of some sort. Now, we're talking Archer and other. Archer is a little bit of a memey stock for sure, right? And so when it has a breakout, it can be the true God arrow here, which, had I drawn that, you would have laughed at me, but like, look what happened. That's ridiculous, right? Now, just as often as that, you have something like that. The breakout is not crazy. I would have, if I were to predict anything from a breakout here, like realistically, it would have been here. It would have been like, okay, this is kind of where we were before this cup formation going, right? Maybe slightly higher, I'd say, maybe like this. But otherwise, this is unexpected for a stock, unless you've got something like Archer, where it's a little bit more volatile and reactive to the news. There's no cup over here. I wouldn't call any of this a cup and handle, but that's generally what you're looking for. And it's crazy how often we've seen this. Reddit was a giant cup and handle. This is the cup here, and here's the real crazy thing. I know this seems like I'm being ridiculous, but on the Reddit drawing, the TA here, I've actually not deleted anything. Even the second God arrow that I added, I didn't delete it. I will say this. I did not think this arrow was going to go this high. I would have thought here. I would have thought actually where we ended up, 185 would have been my guess. Maybe 180 to 185. The fact that we went as high as 196 is insanity. And it's crazy. But I didn't change this drawing at all. These two lines here, I drew them back here. And I've just extended them all the way across as always, this is where I've been thinking we should get back to. And the reason for that was this was a very stable period back when we were in it. We had good earnings and we increased, we found stability here. Then we had a run up to earnings and we dropped back down to what looked like we were going to just hang right back in this range. This was the comfort range. And then all of a sudden shorts came out. It went pretty sour, along with the April just tariff mania and uncertainty where everything dropped. And then we slowly clawed our way back out of this, right? And here we are. Then when we got to this top point right here, we rejected it a couple of times. So it's crazy. Like, I haven't moved that line, but look how close we got to that line. That's insane. So the fact is, like, TA is a little bit astrology, but the fact is TA exists because human patterns exist. And human patterns do repeat. They don't always repeat, obviously, but they can give you some insights and glimpses that if they make sense with whatever your hypothesis is on the stock, you can use them to maybe make more informed or get an edge on a play. Now, with Reddit, It just so happened that this lined up with earnings, and earnings was, in this case, the catalyst that gave us the God Arrow result, and it was solid, obviously, right? Uh, but I digress. We're not talking Reddit at all right now. We're supposed to be talking Archer. I got excited by cups, and then we started talking about Reddit, and I got more excited. It's a bad combination, cups and Reddit. So we'll get back to this, but this is generally what we're looking for with the cup and handle. Just typically not to the degree that we saw, unless there's an upcoming catalyst or it's a known Mimi volatile stock. I would put things like Archer in there. ASTS can do that for sure. MicroStrategy could do that, stuff like that. Aren't there two cups inside? There could be. A little baby cup here, a little baby cup there. They're like a Matryoshka doll, right? That's I cannot believe I remembered that term. Um, all right, let's get back to Archer. All right, so we did have a cup and handle there, and now we are at a spot where I I find it hard to believe we're not going to repeat this. This seems likely where we're going to drop. I'm actually with earnings coming up. I'm debating selling covered calls somewhere up here post earnings, the week post earnings. If earnings is August 11th, I saw somebody said, oh, ASTS is the 13th. No, okay. Muffin, you know when Archer earnings are, right? Is that correct? The 11th. You got to go, man. What, work on a Friday night showcase? Come on, man. Hey, don't be upset when you miss story time later, okay? This is on you. This is not me. We'll miss you. It is on the 11th. Okay. So, yeah, I mean the 11th isn't far away. It's the week after next. So a 2 week option that's in the maybe even the 11 to 12 range. The 12 range, like $12 could be an interesting premium to shoot for. And I'm going to look at that probably on Monday, especially if we have any green action on Monday. That'd be nice. This would be a really interesting place to look at post earnings because I don't care if they get called away. I'm not like invested in this long term. I want to keep swing trading Archer for a long time. Also, the downside protection will be nice. So I don't know. Honestly, maybe I'll even do 11s and just sell premium to premium and not look to share appreciation at all, which is what I would be looking for selling a $12 option. So the chances are, if I can sell like the $12 option for say 40 cents, that'd be pretty good considering how far away we are from it. I'm not even sure I could get that right now, even with earnings. But if it was $12 plus 40 cents, it's really $1.40 a share. And my position's like, I don't know, 3,000 shares, right? So like that adds up pretty quick as a win. But we're gonna have to figure that out on Monday. I'm not sure where I'm gonna go, but that's what I'm thinking, and maybe that's good for the bakery preview. You're gonna do CCs further out, yeah. For sure, if I get the opportunity to buy to close it, even if it's past earnings, I'll still do that. Most likely, if we're under the 50% rule for me, that just generally seems to work better when I do that, and I can just resell options. So maybe I'll do 12 buy to close, and if we drop, I'll do it again at 11. And maybe that's an interesting way to play it. That way we can get the premium and the protection of the 12 in case things are heading in that direction. If not, we buy it back, we sell closer to the money, and we get to keep the premium that we bought back. I kind of like that play. Would I sell an 11 CSP? No, I wouldn't do that again right now. If you're super bullish, sure you can. I just wouldn't. I really don't think we established ourselves for long enough at that range because the greater market impact is still strong here, especially on drones. Like if we were to bring up one of my guilty pleasures, RCAT, it's doing the same thing, right? We're seeing softness across drones. What is Joby doing? Joby's going to make me eat my words, right? They're flat. They're like, well, they have earnings coming up this week. I saw them on the list. Let's see. Well, yeah, Joby. There you go. The mouse is over. Okay, yeah. So Joby is on Wednesday. So it's very likely that they're holding steady, being only a week out. There's a lot of people in those options already, I'm sure. And it's likely that they're not going to move too much between now and then. Why am I lost? Here we go. So Joby's holding steady. Here's the other thing. Do we wait for Joby results to sell the next option? That's an interesting idea. They are very much aligned. Calls at 11 are 31 cents today. Okay. Yeah, that's not great. But very down day, so we might see some interesting return there. But I'm kind of liking the idea of just holding steady a little bit on Archer. Here's the thing. We talked about this last week, and then I totally didn't listen to what we even talked about. Ended up selling options on Archer on Monday. Had I waited till Tuesday, we'd be in a much better position because I probably would have sold tens, obviously, right? And we would have been in the same position. We would be cost basis neutral right now, most likely, or very close. And we'd actually probably still be below cost basis, but I would have felt a lot better about it going into next week. Not CC because of Archer drops. You can also buy to close. No value in waiting. I don't know. I think you might be able to buy to close, but you might not get the opportunity. That is like right. That's a bet we're making. If it's going to continue to slide down, then yes, you're right. But if we find ourselves flat in anticipation of Joby earnings, which can be a thing, I think most people would guess that the two are other than this past couple of days, they tend to be very tied together. Well, okay, Joby's higher, but the shape is exactly the same, right? So I don't know. It's an interesting one. I think this is a good one for us to dive in deeper to on Sunday. You wouldn't wait for Joby. Yeah, I got you. I'm not sure I agree yet, but I understand what you're saying. I'm gonna have to think about this one a little bit. I also can't believe how much Joby has destroyed Archer as being the less sexy of the two historically. This is what surprises me. Archer was way outperforming. What was the difference? Did Joby win a big contract that I'm not really aware of, which is probably the case? Muffin, I feel like you would know this, but anyway, that's kind of where my head's at though for Archer and what I think we should consider. So let's go back to the trade track. Just a better, for sure, it's a better company. I think Archer's CEO is questionable, to be honest. And I felt that way when I originally looked into them and Joby. I was like, Joby's boring, but they're probably like Google, and Archer's going to be open. Yay! This is going to be a fun ride. So we'll see. We'll see what we do there. All right, let's get back to like chronological order here for a minute and just real simple VXX play. This was a tiny one that not a tiny position. It was a sizable position, like 3-ish percent, 3.5%. And then I actually sold this right before Trump spoke. And I had this up earlier. We can go back to the chart over here. I wish I bought it back. I really do. But it was something like, I bought it down here, sold it here. Trump spoke, things dropped. Could have bought it back again and just held it, which was the original plan. With us being at like a 1-year low for VXX. Am I looking at the? Oh, this is VIX. No, this is VXX. What am I looking at? Because I'm not on 1 year. There we go. So when you look at VXX on 1 year, we're going to shrink ourselves down here a little bit. We're bouncing off the bottom, which means, so my general thought process on VIX is really basic. When we're at a 1 year low, you buy VXX and then you sell it whenever you want. And when we're at a 1 year high, you buy SVIX and then you sell it. And it works surprisingly well. standard. This is not financial advice. This is educational purposes only. Do all this at your own risk. Do your own due diligence. I'm not telling you what to do. But it's an interesting thing where we're talking about greed, we're talking about volatility, and this is typically a repetitious pattern, right? Especially lately. Now, if you go way back, you got some craziness with COVID, which is, I think, also like when this came to be. Look at it. Look how insane this is. So the spikes that we're talking about are nothing compared to what people were playing with here. Well, I mean, percentage-wise, maybe, but you got a lot of things that go into this decay. This is an ETF that kind of breaks down over time. But check this out, dude. This is insanity. Also, it splits repeatedly. So, like, this isn't really even helpful to look. I don't even know why I keep going. It never ends. It just literally never ends. Let's fix this. There we go. There we go. But on the 1 year, I like the fact that we're bouncing off this low, and even now is not a bad time to buy. I'm just wondering if we'll have a better opportunity to get, or I'll have a better opportunity to get in on, say, Monday or Tuesday. Maybe we have some resolution over the weekend. I don't expect volatility to increase over the weekend. That's totally like not founded on anything. That who's that chick on After Hour? Carly B. Me, I think is her name. Carly something like that. She would probably be like turning in her, not happy with what I'm saying here. But I think it's fine to give ourselves the weekend to see what shakes out. And then I think leading into economic indicator type events, that's where you lean into selling when you have an event. Now, I'm not sure I would ever hold from 40 to 80. That's crazy. I would have taken profit at like 50 probably here. But the opportunity is there to buy here and get some profit. So I'll continue to be looking at this next week. If we spike to say this range, I'll be looking at SVIX in that case. So that's kind of where my head's at on VIX. You sold at 42. Me too, man. You saw it. I just showed it, I think, right? Yeah. 41.30 to 42. But you know what? Profit is profit. $20 is $20. All right, so next up we had Tesla. This one's kind of funny. I bought this back. I had every intention of reselling it. These were 330Cs. I bought it back for 60%-ish, something like that. Maybe it was 65%. And then from there, I was in. I think this was on. Date's wrong. That date's wrong. I bought that back on. I think I bought it back on Wednesday. Whatever. It doesn't really matter. And then I had every intention to resell here, and then I just didn't. So this is a good case where the Discord, where we were working on transitioning everybody, was very busy. And I probably put more hours into Theta Daddies this week than I did in my full-time job before I left it. For all of last year, and not like collectively, but like any given week of that, I put a lot of hours in this week here. And the reason I say that is knowing that I probably should have just let this one ride, because I would have been happy if it was assigned. It wasn't. It was just over ambitious to think that I was going to be able to put the time in to resell this. I didn't even put a limit order in to resell it. And so essentially in this case, this is a lost $250, which is material, right? Like hey man, I said $20 is $20. Well, $250 is $250, right? And we lost that, or I lost that. So it's too bad. It is what it is. Too bad, so sad. That takes us to Bull, which, we got a nice super drawing here of cups and handles and stuff. We'll definitely bring up Bull. I put the smiley face in this time. I realized TradingView can do smiley faces. That was kind of a neat learning for me. Let's look at the 1 month here. And there's the cup. That was the baby cup. That's right. That's not the real cup. That was me trying to make people feel better. Here's the real cup. And the cup did exactly as predicted. I am going to delete these because these were not serious. And good. This was the real cup and handle. And this is a kind of like, I don't want to call it textbook because I guess I don't really know what textbook looks like. It felt kind of textbook because this was drawn prior to this, right? And then we had this. Now, what is surprising is the trace back that we've had, along with, Hood also is kind of interesting. I don't think, I do have Hood. Hood, I don't have any drawings on Hood, but, if you look at where we've been over here the last, I don't know, month or 2 months of this incredible bull run, now we've dropped below that. We're below the 200 moving average, everything basically. Things fell apart here. Not entirely sure it's wrong where we ended up because we were flying high on adrenaline and drugs. And then we were like, oh, earnings. Let's find out what actually happened. And earnings is always that chance to like level set things. And while earnings was great, record revenue, record profit, essentially that's all priced in. And I think most people knew that. It felt that way. I started staying away from Hood once we broke 85. I was like, okay, I don't know what's happening here. A lot of people are saying it's a $100 stock. Sure, maybe. And it looks like they're right. I mean, we're at literally 99.89. That's kind of cool. But earnings gave us a point in time to basically take everything that's essentially been priced in, validate that, and be like, yeah, it's priced in. You're not getting any more out of us right now. And here we are. So the reason I bring this up is because when I look at Bull, I would have thought that Bull would have stayed here. It's almost like it followed a little bit of that drop of Hood, but didn't go back up with Hood. And again, I don't see any real news, or I didn't see any news that would tell us why. We have earnings eventually out here somewhere. That shouldn't have any indication or impact to what the price is at here. So we could very well be making a new cup and handle. I don't know. But I would have expected us to stay in this channel, which is where we were prior, very temporarily, prior to this giant cup and handle that we drew. And instead, we've kind of fallen out of it back to a range that we were in this handle. And if we stay here, that's fine. I don't think that's long-term where we'll stay here or stay at. But it's disappointing because of the breakout that we had on good news and just, again, lack of catalyst. But again, this is similar to what we're seeing on a lot of stocks right now. Just this kind of burned down. I don't even want to bring up UNH yet. We'll get to that in a little bit. But like we're just kind of slow burning down along with everything else. And Bull took it pretty hard. We had some minus 6 or 8% days when I was looking at this through the week as it was happening, right? That was kind of painful. And in my case, I sold, what did I do here? Oh, that was the other one. I sold $16 puts, and I sold another $15 put here somewhere. Oh, here it is. Here it is. Sorry, I'm on the wrong week. $16 puts and $15 puts. Now, the premium was great. Like, it was insanely high, which is probably a little bit of a tell. But I was a little surprised by just how much they dropped off of really nothing. Now, if you looked at like today, the watch list today, it's not that surprising. I mean, look at these numbers. 4 to 10% across a large grouping of companies, and Bull being one of them. A lot of techie type stocks were caught in the mix here. Oh, wow. Ooh, I didn't see MicroStrategy. Strategy. It's they write it wrong here. It's strategy now, I thought. I didn't realize they dropped that much. This is a range tangent. This is a range that I like to play with strategy. I might give them a couple of days to see what shakes out here, but this is a good spot. I'm interested in looking back into this here next week. So anyway, back to Bull. I find myself here. I wanted to talk about that. I had a $16 P put. I sold a $15 put, and then I sold a $14 put that I bought back immediately. The reason I bought back was this. I thought Hood earnings were on, this date's wrong too. Whoops. I thought Hood earnings were on Wednesday morning, and it was actually Wednesday night. And the way people were talking about Hood, when I didn't even look at Hood results, but the way people were talking about it online, I was like, oh, okay, cool. They had decent results. Great time to get in. If they're stable, I feel really good at 14. And you can see I bought it back. I made 90 bucks. Actually, I made $100. It was a clean 100 when I checked the math. But yeah, or 120 actually. It was a mistake. And so this is a good example of like, look, if you make a mistake and you get a chance to get out and it's not 50% profit, who cares? Get out. I took $100 and I got lucky. If it went $100 the other way, I might have bought to close this one. The reason is right now with where we're at, and this is what I was worried about. I was worried we were going to continue to burn down. At 13, I am very much underwater on those shares. However, my plan is to see where things shake out next week and potentially use my position sizing to my advantage. And the way that I would do that is both of these positions were about 3%, I'm pretty sure, when I looked at them. And now I have 6,000 shares. I can probably put that in at some point here. So the cost basis is $15.50 minus the premiums. What was the average premium here? It was 1.4, 1.1. So we'll just call it 1.2. So like 14.30 something is the actual cost basis I have right now. Still underwater. It's 13.33 right now as of close on Friday. But what I'll do is I'll probably sell $12 CSPs, cash secured puts, next week. And the beauty of that is if they get assigned, that is a great way to dollar cost average down by way of selling CSPs or just get paid on those. And if we have a spike up, well, then I'm just going to sell CCs. That's the wheel, right? And that's the beauty of what we do here. And I can sell these most freely at 15.50 and above. But anything above 14.50 is fair game. So it's not a bad spot to be in, but the important thing to think about here is when you're entering these positions, what is your sizing? Are you giving yourself an out? I got a bunch of outs here. I can double this position size and average down pretty well my cost basis. Are you giving yourself the same room as you enter trades? That can be true both on cash secured puts and on the other side. You don't need to sell if you've got 1,000 shares of something. You don't need to sell 10 contracts on covered calls and cover it all at once at the same price, at the same strike, at the same date. You have the flexibility to be creative here and do whatever you want and take in consideration what the market is doing. Now, in the case of like Reddit, as an example, which we'll talk about next or almost next, we had earnings coming up. I decided I wasn't going to cover it all. However, covering on a ladder would have been also a pretty good approach. Maybe you make sure you get some profit guaranteed because not covering it all is technically also a gamble, just like anything else that you're doing in the stock market. It's a bit of a gamble. So you can make an educated guess and give yourself some room by selling this laddered approach and not blowing the load all at once, right? Like you can do a little bit at a time in different ways. So just something to think about. Next up, we had CoreWeave. Okay, I did want to talk about CoreWeave. I learned something here on CoreWeave that I want to share with everybody. I don't think anyone heard that. And that is I sold puts or bought puts. I bought puts. I don't do a lot of non-theta plays, but I do on occasion like to dabble. I like to think I'm smarter than I am. I think that's true for everyone who buys options. Everybody thinks they're smarter than they actually are. And the ones who get burned realize, maybe not. And the ones who don't still think they're smarter than they actually are. But in this case, I bought puts at $10. and they were for $80, so way out of the money. But also, they were not quite leaps. They were January of 2026, so about 6 months out, or five, whatever, 5 months out. So plenty of time to percolate. And let's bring up the CoreWeave chart's kind of fun, actually. Let's bring that up. CoreWeave is the upside down cup, which might actually be a thing. I don't know. It's happening. This was all pre-drawn, but it's starting to happen. We drew this last week, and it's terrifying me that this could be a thing. So I sold the puts somewhere in this 120 range, and it dropped all the way down to like 101. At 101, I was in profit by 10%. At 106 and above, I was break even or negative. How is that possible, right? And the answer is actually I'm a dumbass, and I didn't put enough time looking at the order that I was placing. Now, it's funny because I put a lot of time and effort into selling an option, because when selling an option, you're guaranteeing your profit. When buying an option, you're like hoping and praying for some juicy returns, right? They're different beasts. And what I did here was I was looking at the spread, and I just picked the middle of the spread. I'm like, yeah, whatever. I don't know. I don't buy options enough. And so I'm going to just see what happens on the spread and get assigned where I get assigned. Well, that ended up being $10 a contract. The problem is the spread was like, I think it was 880 when I thought about it the next day to 1050. That is massive. What was I thinking? The problem with this is anyone can make this number change. You can make this number change by putting in something that's never going to fill. I think it probably is within like a percent range. I'm not sure how that's done. Average advisor might know the answer to that. But I screwed it up. And I got way too close to this upper edge when I really should have been going like, all right, maybe I do 8.9 to buy it. And I'm realizing this is maybe even backwards. Not backwards, but just maybe it is the wrong numbers. But you get the idea of I should have been a lot closer to the bottom part of the bid ask. And I'm so used to working on the ask side that mistakes were made, and I paid it. I had to eat it. So what I did was before we got to the burn, or continued the burn down to just basically where we are now, I decided, you know what? I suck at buying options. I'm just going to get out of it. And what happened was, I think I got out here at basically break even. I paid, what did I pay? $100, $200, something like that. I know that's not break even, but it feels like break even. Yeah, $100 I paid for tuition again on buying options. But this was actually money well spent, because this movement surprisingly was still in my favor with how little the bid-ask spread was moving. I was able to get out at, I think, a better price than I should have been able to get out. I just bought these at the wrong price. And I'll buy options again in the future at some point, probably tomorrow or next week, I should say. I don't know what I'm going to buy. I might even buy UNH puts, by the way. Crazy, but it's a thought. It's real and called an inverted cup and handle. Is it? Okay, well, we didn't know that, but it is happening. This is amazing. I said I was going to start posting these on the wall behind me. This will definitely be in like the record books as one of my better ones. Also, we drew this very accurately. This bear flag, where it seemed pretty clear, and then the intended or the expected outcome is the following drop that we had after that. I wish I bought the puts here when I thought about it. That would have actually paid eventually better than what we found in this case. But anyway, it could be an interesting play if you're into that. I'm probably not going to mess with CoreWeave anymore. Showcase would be upset with me if I bought more puts anyway, so I'm not going to mess with it. But that was a big learning. I think it was, to be honest, well worth $100 to learn that piece of information that I now know. Okay, now we get to my favorite, my best play of the week, and that was Reddit. Reddit across the board was Amazing. We juiced it. We hit uncovered gains. We hit covered gains. We sold CSPs that were not quite at the money, but pretty close. I mean, $10 contracts. Ah, it's nice. That was a week out. Felt pretty good. We were pegged at 140. Well, I kept saying we were pegged at 150. That's not entirely true. We were really, I got to go back to the Reddit chart. We were really at like 148, I would say was like kind of the average we were hanging at. Yeah, somewhere over here. That looks pretty good, right? And then we ran up into earnings here. This was Thursday. And then earnings, everybody knows what happens there. So these were already paying very well at like 50% throughout the week for when I sold them. But I was committed. I was like, no, 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 we're in this. I feel pretty confident this time that we're going to have good earnings. I shared all my thoughts on that. I do want to, I do want to say I was right. Everybody else was wrong. You're welcome. No, I'm kidding. I thought we had a pretty good hypothesis on this one in terms of where it was potentially headed. And a lot of this was just as a recap, kind of based on, yes, the cup and handle, but also this was actually really based on some events that have been unfolding, some news that's been coming out. Google released some news about how Reddit is now being like featured in some of the AI answers. There was also the Reddit executive suite brought in a corporate communications officer, which was thought to maybe give them a little bit better coaching in terms of giving guidance, which is where we always fall short. And we heard it on the earnings call. If you listen to it or check out the transcript, they talk a little bit more favorably about what we're seeing for the future, maybe for the first time ever. And that does put risk into future earnings, but until then, we're fat, dumb, and happy, and I'll take it. Now, I did also, during this run up today, in the very early morning, let's get even closer. Let's change this to, we're at 30 minutes. Let's go 10 minutes. There we go. We had this happen, right? And at this spike, the options were insane because we were flying up, and I put a limit sell at 200 up here, 200 call for Friday. That's what this trade is right over here. And it filled at 135. That's about as good as it gets. I shared this trade. I couldn't tell people I was thinking about it, but I shared because it was instant. I shared the trade, and immediately there were people. Camelot, I think, was saying on the Discord, it's like, what do you see? Where are you seeing this? This is not an option. And the number at the time was, when I checked, when he said that, was 50 cents. It was immediately 70% in the money or in the profit. I waited, I think, another 5 minutes. I think it was a 5 or 10 minute trade. And it dropped to 180. Bought it back at, what was it, 92%, I think, something like that. I mean, that's amazing. So that was a quick $1,000. And it's got to be said, if it hit $200 and I got assigned or those shares called away, guess what? I would have been pretty happy. Let's take a look why. What would that have meant? Well, that would have meant we would have sold 900 shares at 200. And did I do this? What am I doing wrong? Shares. There we go. We would have net a real quick 26K on that. I would have been all right with that, because I know one thing I know by now about Reddit is the peaks don't last forever. And we saw that, right? We actually got to experience that today. We were hanging in this 190 range. And I remember thinking throughout the day, I'm like, no way. We're at, like, first off, that was never a channel in the past, which is why I didn't think that was going to be something we were going to see. It seemed much more likely to me that we would end up in this range. And we technically did. And technically correct is the best type of correct. We finished at just at or under my blue line. What did we close at? Let's see. We closed at 188.33. My line is 188.20. Damn it! I'm technically wrong. No. That burns me. Oh, I was so close. Okay, whatever. The picture's pretty. We're just gonna zoom out. Nobody will know, right? That's fine. Nobody will know what that blue line's at. It's totally cool. Pretty dang close. I actually expected us to originally end in like the low 180s. I think that's where we're going to end up in next week. I think we may find ourselves kind of back to this type of pattern. And then from there, the other consideration is our other recent favorite, RDTL. Now, this is one that you can let yourself hurt on a little bit if you want, because a bunch of us bought shares at 24 something and then kept swing trading it. Made $1,000. A couple of people made like $4,000, whatever. Awesome. All profit, all good. I think one guy sold here at 31. Alec? Is Alec? Alec's not on this time. He's not in. I think he sold it like 31 and walked away with some nice profit. And I think everybody kicked themselves that they didn't hold it to 45, right? Now, even if you just held it to 40, that would be a pretty insane increase from where we were a couple of days ago at 24. So I do expect to be playing this again. We're going to have to see what the channel is that forms. And we've got basically 3 months to play around with it again until the next earnings. And that's how we get through these difficult times between Reddit earnings, is just swing trading RDTL. The thing that's been working has been buying it at 25 and selling it at 26. I'm not sure. Obviously, I'm not sure what the numbers are going to be going forward, but it's likely going to be in this 40 to 42 range. I'll call it now. That's what I think it's going to be. We'll see where it shakes out. But that's where my head's at anyway. So yeah, that was a fantastic play. I have other shares that I'm not selling, but if I had sold the whole boatload of them, it would have been, I don't know, it ends up being something like a 60K gain or something insane. Pretty sweet. All right, then we talked about Bull already. We talked about Archer already. We do have ONS that's kind of in the works right now. ONS, let's look at the ONS chart. ONS is all over the place right now. I don't know what's going on there. Again, we got a drone stop. Oh, I totally forgot we drew a cup. We drew a cup and handle here, and I'll have to move this line a little bit, but it's kind of happening again. Are we going to have that breakout? Man, maybe I should buy some shares. There's been some news coming out. There's been some little tidbits here and there of contracts and blah, blah, blah. It's a real company. We need to be looking at this. I'm not saying this. This is what, I'm reading. Market cap is still, 385, whatever. There is a magic number that when this hits 500 million, it starts showing up and people can post about it on Wall Street Bets. That was a play that I made on RCAT where I watched us cross the threshold of 500 million, which by the way was like $6 a stock. Maybe it was $5 a share, whatever. Made a bunch of money off that. And I may try to do that again with ONS. If we hit 500 million market cap, there could be a WSB effect where all of a sudden people start shilling it there, pumping and dumping it. I don't recommend playing that. That's like unnecessary risk. But that could be a thing if we get to, I guess it would be, what? That would have to be more, we'd have to get to like $5 basically. Something a lot. Maybe, no, more than that. $6, something like that. I can't do the math in my head right now. So look out to that if you're interested in that type of stuff. But this is definitely plausible. Are we going to see the God Arrow? I only made it to 350. I'm not sure I've got the guts to go any higher, and I basically was just looking at the prior high when I made that arrow. But this could be a thing here in the next couple of weeks, especially if they have any good catalysts. Their earnings, just looking at the earnings lineup, could be any time now. I don't know when it is. I'm not sure if it's been announced. Utility added more Bull and Snap today. Oh, they got it at a good price. Snap was the Dragons play for anyone who follows along. he posts this in after hour too, so I don't feel bad sharing that or like I'm sharing any tidbits. Um, I don't think it's doing what he wants right now. I think he was expecting more of a continuation of the cup here, as I can kind of draw a cup here too, actually. But I think he was thinking we would see what we saw with Reddit and other Meta earnings. The question is, did Reddit cannibalize Snap ad revenue? Maybe that's a possibility. August 13th. I feel like I knew that. Maybe that's why I have 815 options. I think that is why I had 815 options. Oh, now that's even more terrifying. I need to buy those back ASAP. I don't think I'm going to have a chance. So they're just those option prices are not moving hardly at all. Yeah, from 20, from two to 220 or even higher, the prices basically stayed for a $2 put. Basically stayed at 20 cents each for the entirety of owning them. At one point, they went up to 30 when we dropped to 180, and I couldn't buy them back, obviously, at a loss, or I wouldn't, since I was still protected anyway in that case. But I think I'm actually okay if I get the shares, so maybe we're just going to let that one ride anyway and see what happens. GME, I've got a really baby position with some far out taxable type play. Don't worry about it. Doesn't matter. I'm like, whatever. Might as well get $100 out of them. Google, this is kind of interesting. I've got these 190 CCs that we've just been hanging around for I don't even know how long now, a week or two. I drew a cup here too. I do have a problem. It's clear. But yeah, we had some spikes up to almost 200, right? Did we hit 200? No, 198. And so I was locked in. I'm like, yeah, whatever. I don't mind that. I have some uncovered shares and then 2 contracts for 190. And I'm pretty happy with this. This is what I said. $20 is $20 play. It's not a bad percent return when you consider both the share appreciation and the premium. So we'll just let that one roll. Lucid. Oh, come on. All right, I'll get to UNH in a second. That's next. Lucid is a silly one where I might actually be able to buy these back now, as we've dropped almost all the way back to where I sold them at after climbing all the way above the $3 mark that I sold them at. They have earnings this week, though, I think. Yeah, on Tuesday after close, right after Snap. And I'm not sure. I'm not sure what to expect here. So, but if I can buy them back at break even or slightly better, I might, for the chance at selling uncovered at $3 and just getting out of it and walking away. I'm just not that big of a fan of them, and I kind of want to simplify the port a little bit. So, okay, all right, we're at UNH. We'll talk UNH now. Do we have to talk UNH? I don't really want to talk UNH. Does anyone want to talk UNH? No, you guys can't want to talk UNH. Ugh. Look at that cliff. All right, let's talk UNH. So, I bought like here at 320 when I bought back in. That felt good. So I am down, not quite $100 a share yet, but getting close. And that sucks because I have 700 shares. So you can do the math. And you might play open earnings. Ugh. Okay, we'll talk about that one in a minute. Well, that'll be in the open forum. So okay, there's if we look at UNH, we got to look all the way at the freaking 5-year chart on this one, and look back to the last time we were this low. We basically hit a bottom at what was I looking at? So we went as low as 200, right? But the thought is a more appropriate number was like around 225, somewhere around here, which was like more of a bottoming of this triple bottom that we saw here. There's nothing saying we can't go further back, but it seems unlikely. I hope it's unlikely, that will go beyond basically where we are. Like if I put the two lines together, at this point we're a few percent away, and I think this is probably going to happen. To be honest, I think we're going to hit like 225, and then the idea is how many earning cycles is it going to take to allow me to draw a frickin' cup? Okay, that's the real question here. And the problem is, if I know anything about cups by now, they you can't just force it's not. I don't think it's going to look like this. That would be nice, but I don't see it. Right? Like it's not going to be that close. Also, I don't think that would be the cup shape to expect anyway. I think if we're doing a cup here on a reasonable term, it's going to be something more like that. Now, the reason I draw this at all is because it gives us a little bit of hope as we see that we're going to bottom out. What did I pick? Accidentally pick. Let's not anger the gods here, and let's just do 230. Right, close enough there. That just takes us back to 370. I think this is more appropriate. Let's do this. And I do have to bring this down though to where we're at least. So, maybe it's a shape like this. So then we have one earning cycle and probably a second earning cycle away from having any hope of being back to where we are. That means this is a 6-month play. So let's do some math. If we're at, let's call it 225, and we want to get back to, this is 400, which is a little ambitious, but we're just going to go with it for now. So $175 price appreciation. And I did this wrong. I didn't want to do that. I wanted to do 400 divided by 225. Okay, look, that is a 77% gain. And there's no reason why this can't happen. The reason I say that is, look how fast we went down. There's really no reason why we also can't go up that quickly. We know that. Look at a lot of companies. I can pick other big companies, and you can see some mega spikes in them. I can bring up Boeing as an example, which is a huge, comparable sized company. I think, I don't know, multiple $billion market cap, and multiple hundreds of billion market cap is what I meant. So this play here over 6 months, 77% return is actually 150%. So the reason I bring that up is if we see this result that we hope for, and this is some copium, I know, but this is not a bad place to invest. And also not a bad place that if you've got your money in it holding the bag, like at this point, there's a good chance that we have already eaten it. What do they call that? The kitchen sink earnings, right? Like where you just literally throw all your shit into the pile at once, set it on fire, and nobody even comes out to stomp it out. It just burns and it stinks and whatever. I did that once. It's not recommended, by the way. Halloween, 1997. Before we had cell phones and people had videos of everything. The Ring cameras weren't a thing there, so it was okay. Minus the potential of the house fire. But again, it was okay. This is likely going to not happen as I've drawn it, but we're going to keep it up for the continued hopium. But if it does, this is actually really good result of an investment. And the idea is, if you were to sell everything you've got here at a loss and put it into something else, would you be happy with 150% return? Duh, that's a 3% a week. I'll take that. So for that reason, and among other reasons along the lines of, again, the CEO, I think, is setting things up in the way that it needs to be set up. They've got some real challenges, but I also don't think they go away. Trump doesn't really have interest in, he hates Obamacare, right? So that doesn't seem like it's ever going to be a thing. And these companies will figure out a way to make money. It's probably going to suck on the patient, the person who is affected by it. They're an evil company. Maybe the new CEO will get shot by Mario, but who knows? Regardless, I think they will find a path to profitability. And that's kind of what I've sold myself on, of why Do I really want to be the guy that buys high and sells low? No. Do I want to cut losses? Yes. Am I going to admit that this is a loss? It is a loss, but I think I'm just going to stick with the not yet and sell cover calls on it as we flatten out. All right, I spoke a lot. Let me catch up on chat here a little bit. He took all the losses he could. Okay, so Muffin, I know you're not on the call with me. How do you feel after hearing that? Like you know a lot corporate wise. We're gonna talk wheeling in a sec. Yeah, you feel real good corporate wise on your knowledge there. Like, doesn't that feel like a setup for a guy who just bought $25 million and $1 million of stock at 250, which by the way is about where we're at right now, give or take, whatever, a million. Yeah, okay, I agree. So, for those of you who are listening, which is nobody, Muffin Muffin said he basically dumped on the previous CEO. I agree. It's the previous guy, like that's what you always do. Like Trump is still doing that. Who pointed out the tweet, by the way? I need to find the tweet that and who called it out from Bloomberg, where Trump said, "Oh, I'm not going to find it quickly enough because this guy tweets so freaking much." But the jobs numbers are being produced by a Biden appointee. Dude, he's still doing it. Like that, we're going on a year. Maybe not quite a year. But like that excuse lasts for about up to, for a CEO, maybe you can get away with that for 6 months. And he's sticking with it. And I think most people in the corporate world would do the same. Trump still blames Clinton. Yes, he does. That's fair. Okay, so let's talk strategy here. What are we going to do? I got 700 shares, and they're uncovered. What I said, I apologize to Mr. Muffin. I said I was going to look at premiums today. The fact is, I looked at Reddit. I was happy. I looked at UNH. I was sad. I chose happiness today. I'm like, I'm done. I'm done looking at UNH. There's nothing good to look at here. I don't like selling CCs on red days. Now, if you expect more burn, then you probably should still sell it on a red day, obviously at the money. Where I'd like to start looking is, I'm on the wrong. Let me look at, this is going to be painful, but we're going to switch to the 1 month view here. And, there's no real support. We're below all of the moving averages. Now, what is an idea of what we might test in the next couple of weeks? Well, we know what averages do. And by the way, this is probably not like average advisor, certified TA type stuff, what I'm about to show. But this is something that I've kind of been playing around with. What if you were to take your moving averages and just like do something? No, that's wrong. That would be more like that. If you were to just continue the exact line, the exact tangent of the circle, like of what's happening, look at that. Okay, this is where we get into like the guy with the pins and the string and what's happening there. Now we're going to draw some horizontals. So we're at this level right now. Okay. And that means that if we stay, we will likely stay below the moving averages for whatever. We'll call it into next week. Like realistically, it seems like unlikely we're going to spike up. It could happen, but it seems more likely that we're going to test moving averages. So if we were to start doing that and look at like, okay, on the 4th where we're at, we're very quickly able to cross back over the, what is that, the 8-day moving average, whatever that is. The 9-day. Why do I have a 9-day? That's obnoxious. Who picked that number? So then we're going to look at this being the 20-day moving average. No, that's the, I'm sorry. That's the 50 and that's the 200. Okay. So I'm kind of more interested in, are we going to test the 50 or the 200? And if this were to continue in the same direction, a week out from now, we're going to cross it at some point. We're going to cross back over unless we continue to outburn that curve. But eventually that curve is going to catch back up and we're going to cross over it. So the reason I am talking about this insanity is, if we look out to the 8th being Friday, so if we're looking at weeklies, we're out here, okay? And that means that I would be considering something between these two lines here. So 237 seems aggressive. It's currently at the money. And 261 is too far out of the money in order to get any meaningful premium. So what I'm thinking is the fibs in between these two lines is where I want to look at. So maybe that's going to be 245. Probably where I'm going to start at. And I think if we look at volume on option volume, on we bring this up actually right now. Reddit was so pretty. Why do we got to look at UNH? And we look at August 8th. Oh, we don't see volume. Oh man, we don't see volume here. Hold on a second. Let me bring up Fidelity, but I don't want you all to see my password and stuff. Give me a sec. All right, so we got that, and then let me just bring up trading. We're going to look at options, option chain. Okay, this is safe. I can share this. For some reason, it's showing the old layout, which I hate. Show me the new one. Where's the new one? Switch to the new experience. Come on. What are you doing here? There we go. All right, we're good now. Sorry, that took longer than expected. Double check my account information isn't on there. Okay, so if we look at UNH, right, and look at August 8th, which is where I want to start. I want to start with weeklies. We look at CCs. 245 is an area of interest. 250 is a bigger area of interest, which is not surprising because it is a psychological level, being that nice round number. And the thing is, 245 as a close is paying about 1%, whereas 250 is very quickly drops below that, right? So that is a starting point of where I want to look selling CCs next week. Now, the other option is to go out a little bit further. We could look at August 15th and kind of do the same thing. And in that case, we would be looking more likely either the 250 range, 255, or 260. Now, while they show 1%, this is now 1% over a 2-week time period. So it's only a 26% return versus a 52% return, obviously. Not terrible. And frankly, maybe a good choice for us to consider with having a little bit less likelihood of shares being called away. But if we continue to burn down, we also lose out on managing our profit on the way down a little bit tighter. And that is something that we've got to come to some sort of conclusion on, or at least, again, hypothesis of, does this slow burn continue with, if I can remember where the stupid arrow is, here. Are we going to continue this direction? This arrow is not meant for this. I can't use that arrow. I can use the other arrow. Or are we going to, is it going to continue on this trend, right? Or are we going to start seeing the bottom of the cup that we've drawn? Which in this case, because I drew it the way that I did, continues to go in a downward fashion for a little bit. But you can see we do look at crossover here pretty quickly, even in that situation. So those are the things that I'm thinking about right now. As you can tell, I'm undecided, but those are what stands out. All right, let me catch up. 245, 815 looks decent. Okay, so the thing is, 245 on 230. What do we close at? 237.63. Let's look at that. 45 divided by 237 is 3% move. 3% over 2 weeks. I mean, this is all priced in, right? Actually, let's look at, is IV on here yet? Of course it is. IV is low. Oh, wow. Lower than I would have guessed, I should say. In that case, so here's the thing. We moved down almost 5% today. So I worry about if we just move back up, what are we at? We're at like 250, right? 2 is, yeah, I mean, 249. And assignment happens, you just sell some. I'm just thinking like 250 sounds better in my. Big ones move low faster. Obviously, it's alternatively we could look at the. I mean, even at the money is a potential. So, oh. Sorry. Yeah, kids are probably watching for next week. If we think the trend has a chance of reversal, we need to protect a little bit on the upside, since we just want to collect the premium in that case, right? Oh, hold on a second. Let me see if there's anything I can do. I don't think there is. Oh, viewership is dropping because I'm dropping frames, is my guess. Let's see. Well, I haven't dropped any frames. The stream looks good on OBS standpoint, actually. So I wonder if it's on YouTube's end. I don't know. I'm not sure what to do about that. How do things look this moment? Any immediate feedback? Seems okay again. Did you put your Labubu away, Flox? Is that why you decursed me for a moment? My kids seem to think that they curse you if you have them in your house. Every other word. If I talk like it is every does that help? No, that's obnoxious, isn't it? All right. Well, if that's the case, we're probably, if that's the case, I'll probably have to wrap it up here. We're at the end anyway on UNH. Move to Discord. Okay. All right. I'm going to end the stream on YouTube. Everyone who tuned in, thank you. Sorry for the choppiness here at the end. I'm not sure why that's happening. We're going to move to the Discord for anyone who wants to follow up there and hang out. Thanks for tuning in. I'll see you in the next week, and hopefully it'll be a little less choppy. Also, new video coming up next week, so check that out. Make sure if you're not subscribed, you subscribe, and appreciate you.